Let's talk about how we measure fatigue in women's basketball. And it's not just workload, it's not just soreness, not just how do you feel today. I'm talking about actual quantifiable neuromuscular readiness. This is real data that can tell us if an athlete's nervous system is ready to perform or if it's starting to tap the brakes a little bit. One of the most efficient ways that I've found to track both practically and meaningfully is with RSI-Modified. And this is using Vald Performance's ForceDecks software. Now, it's a simple concept with a ton of value. And when you put it in the context of either college basketball or pro basketball, the calendars, the travel, the back-to-backs, the lifting blocks, the skill work sessions, it starts to feel like something you probably should have been doing all along. So, what is RSI modified? Let me break it down plainly for all of us, really. RSI modified stands for Reactive Strength Index hyphen modified. It's pretty simple, right? It's a ratio. It's a comparison. It tells us how efficiently an athlete is turning effort into output. More specifically, it looks at the relationship between jump height as an output and the contraction time, your input. And put together, the formula looks a little bit like this. RSI modified equals your jump height divided by your contraction time. So what does that actually even really mean, right? Imagine you and I both jump the same height, but it takes me twice as long to get off the ground. That means my RSI modified is lower than yours. My central nervous system is moving slower, even if the outcome, the height, is the same. So why is RSI modified? Why does it matter in women's basketball? Let me bring it into the women's basketball setting, the setting that I work in. We've got high velocity demands. We cut, we sprint, we do defensive slides, explosive rebounding. None of that works well if the CNS system isn't sharp. Now, fatigue doesn't always show up in the box scores or in the soreness reports, but it does show up in the jump strategy. With RSI-Mod, we can start to understand how our athletes are producing movement and not just what the outcome looks like. And that shift from outcome only to the strategy and the outcome is really where ForceDecks and RSI-Mod really shine. So what is it when RSI modified? What happens when it goes up? And let's walk through why might that be happening when RSI mod actually increases. See, if an athlete's RSI mod is trending upward, a few things might be happening. Their jump height is going up, and they're getting off the ground just as quickly or even faster, right? Their contraction time maybe is decreasing, meaning that they're producing force faster or quicker, even if their jump height stays stable. Or maybe it's both. And this is often a sign that they're neurologically fresh, that they've recovered well, that they're efficient, responsive, springy, what name you. It's like they're getting more output for every drop of input. And that's great. That's what we want. That's usually a green light. Load can stay the same, or if it's a game day, it suggests they're ready to really bring great effort to the floor and pop off, right? Now, what happens when RSI mod goes down? We've all had this happen. An athlete, their jump height is about the same as last week. But when you look at their ForceDecks data, something seems off. And usually it's this. It's their contraction time has crept up, meaning it's taking longer to produce the same output. Now, that doesn't always mean that something is wrong, but it does mean that their system is likely fatigued or adapting to stress. Or maybe they're carrying residual load from recent sessions or games. And sometimes RSI mod drops because jump height itself drops. And that could mean that they have reduced intent, poor motivation, or true psychological fatigue. Either way, this is where coaching meets science. We don't just look at RSI numbers. we look at how they get there. And that's what really matters, right? We must look at the parts, not just only the ratio. And here's the trap that most people fall into with RSI-Mod. They chase the ratio without actually checking the actual values behind it. So you got to break it down. You have to explore it. You have to investigate it. You have to look at both the numerator and the denominator. If jump height is down, we must ask why. Was the athlete undercovered? Were they distracted? Or maybe they were just sandbagging. If contraction time is high, maybe we need to check movement quality. Is there hesitation? Is the descent slower than usual? Are they favoring one limb or another? And ForceDecks gives us that information. They give us that detail. That's the power. Not just having a number, but being able to read the actual force trace, to see the story behind the jump. Now, what is practical monitoring with RSI-Mod? How do you actually really apply it? And this is what I do. This is what we do. Most programs that I work with, we test the CMJ 2 to 3 times a week. Some teams actually do it daily, especially in season. Others go pre and post competition to gauge their recovery windows. What matters most is consistency. You want longitudinal data, something you can build rolling averages off of. So you're not just reacting to every dip or spike. And ForceDecks does that beautifully, right? The software builds that context somewhat automatically. And you can set thresholds for red or green ranges on their hub system, right? And that makes decision making even easier. And honestly, CMJs, they're low cost. They don't produce extra soreness. They take seconds. They don't mentally drain the athlete. You just get clean, repeatable data, and you get it really fast. Now, if I'm being honest, this kind of tech is really important for women's basketball, specifically women's basketball. Why, you might ask? Why more important for one sport or another? Because so many of these athletes are oftentimes playing through underreported fatigue. They're navigating academic demands, hormonal fluctuations, inconsistent strength backgrounds, travel stress, and I mean, let's be real, coaches who don't always adjust based on readiness scores. RSI-Mod helps give them a voice without needing to actually say a single word. So if I see an athlete with a high rolling average drop 25% in their RSI-Mod, and they report feeling, oh, coach, I feel fine, I still know that I need to adjust something in their training program. If another athlete's numbers shoot up after a deload, I can green light a little bit more load and intensity that week without second guessing myself. And this is how we train smarter, without just asking for more effort. We train more efficiently with data that respects the individual. Now, what's the big takeaway from all of this? RSI-Modified isn't about chasing a perfect number. It's about understanding that relationship between effort and outcome, between what the athlete puts in and what they get out of their CMJ. Now, it's also a fatigue marker. It's a readiness marker. And it's a tool that, when used with consistency and context, can keep your athletes feeling springy, safe, and game day sharp. If you're using ForceDecks, right, keep watching both the jump height and the contraction time. And don't fall for the trap that one number tells the whole story, right? That's not accurate. It's a ratio, and we need to investigate both parts. And if you're not using RSI-Mod yet, this video, this might be your sign to actually start. So thanks for hanging out with me. If you got questions about RSI-Mod or CMJ testing in general, drop them in the comments below, and I'll get back to as many of them as I can. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.